Good morning, dear children. Today we are going to continue with our lesson 1.5, the necklace. Until now we have finished. We have seen that there was a girl called Methilde, and she was very beautiful, but she was born in a clerk's family. That was a middle class family, and later on, because she felt that she was very unlucky, and because of she was born by an error of fate in a very middle class family, and not in a rich family, and so she got married to a middle class employee who was a clerk for the Ministry of Education. And later on we have seen that she was always very unhappy, and her house, her clothes, simple clothes, no jewelry, no very good furniture, all these things used to torment her. They used to trouble her a lot, and she used to feel very depressed because of that. She was very unhappy because of that. Later on we also have seen that her husband Loisel had got invitation from the ministry, and the invitation was for a party to be held at the ministry, which was very prestigious, and he was very happy about it. But Mathilde was not happy because she thought that she did not have a good dress to wear for the party. And finally we have seen that she asks her husband to give 400 francs to buy her a new dress, which would be good enough and to go for a party. So that's what we have seen. Now 400 francs is a French currency. So let us move ahead from page number 19. So as soon as she said 400 francs, he turned a little pale, because he had been saving the exact amount to buy a gun for a hunting summer. However, he said, "Very well, I can give you 400 francs, but try and get a really beautiful dress." So it was he had been saving rupees 400 francs, exactly the same amount, because he wanted to go for hunting the coming summer with his friend, and so he wanted to buy a gun for hunting. So he had been saving these 400 francs to buy a gun for himself. But now, since Methilde had asked for the same amount, so he turned a little pale. He was a bit unhappy, but then he said that fine, he will give those 400 francs to her to buy a dress. But he told her to ensure that she buys a really good dress, a beautiful dress. So here once again we can see that, as I told you at the beginning of the chapter, that Loisel was he always tried to please his wife and keep her happy. So for her happiness he sacrificed his gun. Okay, so next paragraph. The day of party drew near, and Madame Loisel seemed sad, restless, anxious, though her dress was ready. Now the days were passing, her dress was ready, and still she was not looking really happy. She was looking rather unhappy. One evening her husband said to her, "What's the matter? You have been acting strange these last 3 days." He asked her that since last 3 days you are looking very strange, you are acting very differently, not normal. So what is the matter? What is troubling you? She replied, "I am upset that I have no jewels, not a single stone to wear. I would rather not go to the party." Now see, she is saying that after having the dress worth rupees 400 francs from her husband, now she is saying that because she is not having any jewelry, not a single stone. Here stone means not the stone which we get on the road. It is about a precious stone, that is like diamonds, emeralds, sapphire, so these type of stones. So she means to say that she hasn't got any jewelry with her to wear it with the dress. So she says, instead, I will not go for the party. "You could wear flowers," he said. "They are very fashionable at this time of the year." So her husband said, Loisel said that she could wear she could wear flowers, and that would be very fashionable at that time of the year. So he advised her to wear flowers. She was not convinced. The next day she went to her friend's house and told her of her distress. So she was not convinced, she was not happy, and she was not willing to wear flowers with her dress. So what she did is, next day she went to her friend, uh, Madame Forestier, and she told her that I want to go for a party, but I do not have suitable jewelry. So Madame Forestier went to her mirrored wardrobe, took out a large box, brought it back, opened it, and said to Madame Loisel. Now, this Madame Forestier, as I told you at the beginning of the beginning itself, that she was a very kind-hearted, generous, and she was wealthy also. She was very rich also. So she had a lot of collection of jewelry. So she just went to her wardrobe. Wardrobe is a cupboard, and mirrored wardrobe means a cupboard which has a mirror on its door. So which has a mirror. So she went to it, she opened it, and she bought the boxes of jewelry, large box, and she gave it, she brought it, kept in front of Mathilde, and opened it, and said to Mathilde that, choose, my dear. First Mathilde saw some bracelets, then a pearl necklace. She tried on the jewelry in the mirror. Now Mathilde, we have seen that she was never happy in what she had. So she went on seeing all the jewelries. First she saw some bracelets, then she saw some pearl necklace, and then she used to each and every necklace or each and every jewelry that she used to like, she used to just try it on her, just wear it and see in the mirror how it is, how it's looking on her. And she kept asking, you have nothing else? So she was not happy in that, so she wanted to ask whether she has something else as well. Does she has something still better? Why, yes, but I don't know what you like. So Madame Forestier said, yes, I have many jewelry sets, but then she doesn't know which type exactly Mathilde was looking out for, or what was Mathilde's choice. So suddenly she discovered in a black satin box a superb diamond necklace, and her heart began to beat with uncontrolled desire. So now this Mathilde, suddenly she saw a necklace, she rather saw a black satin box, and there was a superb diamond necklace, a very beautiful diamond necklace in that, and her heart began to beat with uncontrolled desire. She was so excited, she was so happy, and she was so attracted towards that necklace that her heartbeat started her heart started beating very fast, and she, like, at any cost I want this jewelry, she was of that opinion. So her hands trembled as she took it. So here it is said that her hands trembled means her hands were shaking because she was very excited and she liked it so much. So her hands were shaking, involuntary. So her hands were shaking, and she held it in her hand. She fastened it around her neck and stood lost in the ecstasy as she looked at herself. She it was so beautiful, it was so nice that she was lost when she just tied it around her neck and she was looking in the mirror. She was just lost in its beauty. Ecstasy means she was lost in the beauty of the necklace. It was so beautiful as she looked at herself, because the necklace itself was very beautiful, so she was lost, and it was looking very pretty on her also. So she was totally engrossed, and she just forgot everything, and she was just she could just see the necklace and herself in the mirror. She forgot about everything else. Then she asked anxiously, hesitating, "Would you lend me this? Just this?" So she was now, since it was very pretty and it was looking a real diamond necklace, so she was not very sure if her friend Madame Forestier would lend it to her. So she was anxious. Anxious means she was nervous, and hesitatingly means unsurely. So hesitatingly, unsurely, she asked, "Would you lend me this? Just this, only this. Can I please borrow it from you?" "Why, yes, of course." She threw her arms around her friend's neck rapturously and fled with her treasure. Now she said, "Yes, yes, you can take it by all means." So now Mathilde was so happy that she just hugged her friend, and she was so happy that rapturously means out of great joy. So because of that great joy, because of that happiness, and because she liked the necklace so much, so she just hugged her friend, and immediately she went away from that place with that treasure in her hand, because that necklace was a treasure for her, because it was very beautiful and she liked it very much. That was exactly what she was looking out for. Fleed means to go, run away quickly. The day of the party arrived. Madame Loisel was a success. She was prettier than all the other women, elegant, gracious, smiling, and full of joy. Now, wearing that beautiful dress, and we have seen in the earlier part itself that Mathilde herself was very beautiful. Now she was wearing a very beautiful dress. She was also wearing a very nice necklace which suited her dress and suited her also, and she was looking very beautiful, because she always wanted to attend such parties, to be among such rich, classy people. So everything what she liked and what she wanted, that all she was getting that day. So she was very happy, and so she was looking very beautiful. And therefore she was looking so beautiful that she was looking prettier than any other woman in the party. She was looking the most prettiest one in the party. She danced wildly with passion, forgetting everything in the triumph of her beauty and success, floating in the cloud of happiness. She was so happy that as in she was very successful. Triumph itself means victory of her beauty, because she was looking very beautiful and she was looking the most prettiest one in the party. So she danced wildly. She just forgot everything because she was very happy, and those were the things that she really loved and she always wanted in her life. So she enjoyed it thoroughly and she forgot everything, and she was as in floating on the cloud of happiness. She was very happy. Mathilde and her husband left at about 4 o'clock in the morning. When they were finally in the street, they could not find a cab. They walked down toward the Seine till they found one. They were dropped off at their door in the Rue des Mathis, and sadly it was all over for her. So finally Mathilde and her husband came out from the party at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and they could not, since it was very late in the night, so they could not find a cab on the street, and so they walked to a distance, to a main road sort of, and finally they took a cab. Okay, they walked towards the Seine, is a river in France, and and then they took a cab and they got down from the cab at Rue des Martyrs, which was the place where they stayed. And finally, the day which Mathilde had been preparing for or waiting for since long, finally the day had finished. The day had come to an end. In front of the mirror, she took a final look at herself in all her glory. But suddenly she uttered a cry. She no longer had the necklace around her neck. So Mathilde thought that now since she was looking very beautiful that day and wearing that dress and that necklace, and now since that necklace was borrowed, so she will have to return it. She may not get ready again in the near future with that pretty dress and that necklace. So since that day she was looking very beautiful and very elegant, so she thought that she will just look at herself in the mirror, how pretty she was looking that day. So she went to the mirror and she was just looking at herself in the mirror, and suddenly she uttered a cry. Suddenly she shouted, because she no longer had the necklace around her neck. "What is the matter?" asked her husband. Her husband asked, "Why are you shouting? What happened?" She turned towards him, panic-stricken. I no longer have Madame Forestier's necklace." She was so shocked, and she was so blank that she could not just understand what to say, what to do. So she was in that you can say like that grief-stricken position. She can't even speak. She was just unable to speak also. Panic-stricken means with a sudden feeling of fear. So she was so scared that she was unable to speak also when her husband asked why she shouted. So she finally said that the necklace which she had brought from Madame Forestier was she has lost that. He stood up, distraught. "What? How? That's impossible." He stood up, distraught. Distraught means worried. He was also very worried now, and it was very difficult for him also to digest or to believe that the necklace was really lost. They both thought that something should happen and they should get the necklace back. That's the end of part 1, children. We will continue the part 2 also. Part 2. They looked in the folds of her dress, in the folds of her cloak, in her pockets, everywhere, but they could not find it. So now they started searching for the necklace desperately, and they started looking if it was somewhere stuck up in her dress or in the folds of her cloak. Children, cloak is a garment wore over clothes. It has no sleeves and fastens at the neck. So it is closed at the neck and then it is open till the end down, and it is worn like a jacket or a coat on the dress. So it is like a shrug, and it is mostly sleeveless without any sleeves, and it is intact at the neck, and the lower portion is just left open. So that is a sort of coat or a jacket that is called as a cloak. So they saw everywhere in the folds of her cloak as well, in her pockets and everywhere. They could not find it. So they could not find it anywhere. "Are you sure you still had it on when you left the hall?" he asked. Her husband asked, "Are you sure that you still had it on your neck when we left the hall?" "Yes, I touched it in the hall at the ministry." So she says, "Yes, at the ministry I touched it, and I know it was still there when we were in the hall at the ministry. But if you had lost it in the street, you would have heard it fall. It must be in the cab." So he says that if it would have fallen on the road or on the street, then it would have made some noise and they would have able to hear it and make out that the necklace has fallen, or rather something has fallen. So it must not have fallen on the street, it must have fallen in the cab. Yes, that's probably it. Did you take his number? No. So she says, yes, probably it fell down or I lost it in the cab. So she asks him, did you take his number? And he says, no, he did not take the number of the taxi or the cab driver. They stared at each other stunned. They just quietly looked at each other and they were stunned, like shocked. In a shock, they kept on looking at each other. At last, Loisel put his clothes on again. I'm going back, he said. Over the whole route we walked and see if I can find it. So finally, her husband Loisel, he said that he's again put on his clothes and then he said, okay, what if whichever route we had been, he will again go back to the same route and just check if it is fallen somewhere. He will try to find it. He left. She remained in her ball dress all night, her mind blank. Now she was so blank that she didn't even feel like changing the clothes, or she just didn't understand, or she just didn't knew what to do. So she just sat like that only in her same party gown, and she was just thinking. She was not able to do anything. Her husband returned at about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing. So they came back at 4 o'clock, 4:30. Then they came to know that they have lost it. Her husband went again all through the road and he came back as well at about 7 o'clock in the morning, but still he was unable to find the necklace. He went to the police, to the newspapers to offer a reward to the cab companies. Everywhere the tiniest glimmer of hope led him. So he went everywhere. He went to the police station also to file a complaint. He also went to the newspaper. He also went to the newspaper to offer a reward. Means he gave an ad in the newspaper that if someone finds the necklace and returns it, they will be rewarded. They will be given some prize against it. So he gave that advertise as well. And he also went to the cab companies. He went to the cab companies which cab they had hired, so that if the driver had returned it to the cab owner, he might get it back. And everywhere the tiniest glimmer of hope led him. So anywhere where the very small, tiniest is very small glimmer of hope, any slight hope or slight ray of hope was possible, he went everywhere. She waited all day in despair at this frightful disaster. So for the whole day she was just waiting and she was just praying to God that she should find it back, but she did not find it. They did not find it anywhere. Loisel returned in the evening, a hollow, pale figure. He had found nothing. For the whole day he was searching everywhere, but he was in the evening when he returned, he was a hollow. Hollow here means to look very dull. Hollow, pale figure. He was very tired physically as well as mentally, and he was very looking because of that he was looking very dull also. He had found nothing. He had lost all his hopes and he did not find anything anywhere. You must write to your friend, he said. Tell her that you have broken the clasp of her necklace and that you are having it mended. So he told Mathilde that she should write to her friend. She should inform to her friend that the clasp is the hook of the necklace is broken and you are getting it mended or repaired, so it will take some time. It will give us time to look some more, so that they can get some time to search the necklace further. She wrote as he dictated. The way he told her to write, similarly whatever he told him, all that she wrote and send it to her friend. At the end of 1 week, they had lost all hope, and Loisel, who suddenly looked aged, declared, "We must consider how to replace the jewel." So 1 week passed on, and they didn't find the necklace. They lost the necklace, and they lost all their hopes as well. Now they did not have any hopes of finding the necklace. So Loisel, who suddenly started looking aged uh, because of the stress, the tension, the worry of giving the necklace back to her friend, so because of that he suddenly started looking aged, very tired and very pale. And he declared and he stated that they should consider how they can replace the jewel, how they can buy another necklace for her and give it back to her, Madame Forestier. And so they went from jeweler to jeweler looking for a necklace like the other one, consulting their memories, both sick with grief and anguish. Now they both were very tired and they were very sorrowful. Grief means sorrow, and anguish means very much painful. It was very painful because we have seen that they belong to a middle class family, and now buying this big necklace, that too not for ourselves, that too as a replacement for the friend's borrowed necklace. So it was very painful for them to buy that necklace, and so so they started looking for that with not very enthusiasm, but because of forcefully they had to do that. So they started looking, they went from one jeweler to other jeweler looking for the necklace. And it is said that consulting their memories, no, so now they didn't had any picture of the necklace or something, but whatever they remembered, whatever they had seen the necklace, so they were describing the necklace and trying to get the similar one, so that Madame Forestier will not be able to identify, or she will not be able to come to know that the necklace was not hers, but it was a different one. So they wanted to buy a similar one. At a shop in the at a shop at the Palais Royal, they found a string of diamonds which seemed to be exactly what they were looking for. It was worth 40,000 francs. They could have it for 36,000. So finally in one shop they found that there was a necklace which was quite similar, very similar to the one which they had lost, and this was worth 40,000 francs, but they bargained, and the shopkeeper was ready to sell it to them for 36,000 francs. So they begged the jeweler not to sell it for 3 days, and they made an arrangement that he would take it back for 34,000 francs if the other necklace was found before the end of February. So finally they had a deal with the shopkeeper. They said that the shopkeeper should keep the necklace for 3 days, and within these 3 days they made the arrangement of money of 36,000 francs, because they were not having it. Whatever savings this Loisel had, or whatever house they had, whatever assets they had, they sold it off, and still they could not gather 36,000 francs. So then he borrowed some money from his office, then he borrowed some money from his friends, and and after borrowing it from his friends and known people and selling off his assets, he finally managed to get those 36,000 francs and gave it to the shopkeeper. When he gave it to the shopkeeper and took the necklace, he said that if by February we had to return this necklace, he meant to say that if they found the earlier necklace and they have to return this necklace, then the jeweler will take it in 34,000 francs. So ultimately they will be spending only 2,000 francs if they are able to find the necklace and return this necklace to the jeweler. So they will get 34,000 francs back. Loisel had 18,000 francs which his father had left him. He would borrow the rest. So he had 18,000 francs which his Loisel's father had given him, and the remaining amount he borrowed from some or the other places. And he did borrow. He gave notes, made ruinous agreements, dealt with every type of money lender. So how he borrowed? He had some investments that he sold off. He made ruinous agreements, means disastrous or destructive. Ruinous is destructive or disastrous agreements. Dealt with he went to so many types of money lenders and took money from them, and then he went to get the new necklace and laid down on the jeweler's counter 36,000 francs. So somehow he managed to get 36,000 francs and gave it to the jeweler and got the necklace. When Madame Loisel took the necklace back, Madame Forestier said coldly, "You should have returned it sooner. I might have needed it." Now, in this buying new necklace, arranging for money, and all this stuff took a lot of time, and therefore Mathilde was late to return it to her friend, and her friend was not really very happy with this act of Mathilde, and she said that Mathilde should have returned it earlier, as Madame Forestier might have needed the necklace to wear it. From then on, Madame Loisel knew the horrible life of the very poor. But she still played her part heroically. Now, Madame Loisel was not happy when she was a middle class lady. So now she had to live a life of a very poor lady. She had to do all the work herself, and it was very tedious for her. It was not really easy for her, but still she played her part. She did her work in the best possible way she could. The dreadful debts must be paid. Whatever loans, whatever credits they had taken, they must be paid off. She would pay it. She was a very good lady as far as returning the things was considered. So she was very committed to return the money from whom they had borrowed. They dismissed their maid. They changed their lodgings. They rented a garret under the roof. So to save money, what they started doing is they first of all they removed their maid. They stopped her maid, and that's how they saved the money which was paid to the maid. Then they changed their lodging. Lodging means they changed their residence. From that house they moved to a garret. A garret is a small uncomfortable room at the top of the house. Generally at the top of the house or on the terrace there is a small room which is an extra room, which is used many times. It is used as a store room. So that sort of small room they hired, and they shifted there. She came to know the drudgery of housework, the odious labors of the kitchen. So that is how she came to know the drudgery is hard work or laborious household work. Now since they had removed their maid, so all those works also she had to, household work she had to do, Mathilde had to do, and she also had the odious labors of the kitchen. All the work of the kitchen also she had to do herself. She washed the dishes, the dirty linen, that is, she washed the utensils, she cleaned the clothes, she carried the garbage down to the street every morning and carried up the water, stopping at each landing to catch her breath and rest like a commoner. Now she used to dress up like a very common girl, very simple, very 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 less costly dresses. Then she used to carry the garbage down to the street every morning, and she used to also fill water, carry water from down to upstairs. And since she was not used to doing all this tedious work, so she used to get very tired carrying that water, heavy water upstairs. So she used to wait at every few interval, every few steps she used to wait, she used to breathe a little bit, and then again she used to continue carrying the water to her house, which was on the terrace. She had to bargain at markets, quarrel and face insults over every miserable sow. Now had to she they were saving as much money as they could, so she had to bargain. So whenever she went out at the market to buy vegetables or grocery or something, she used to bargain with the shopkeepers so that she can save that little money also. And at times she used to have quarrel, and she used to have sometimes she used to have she has to face the insults also for saving a single rupee. A very um, miserable sow is every single penny, every single rupee. For saving that, she had to struggle a lot. Each month they had to pay some loans, renew others, and get more time. So what they used to do is they used to pay off some loans, they used to renew some loans because they were unable to pay them at that time. So they used to renew that, and that is how they were getting more time to repay the loan. Her husband worked extra every evening doing accounts for a tradesman, and often late into the night. He sat copying a manuscript at 5 sous a page. So, as we have seen that they were struggling for every single rupee. So, what her husband did is he used to besides his office, he used to also work with some other office after his normal office. He used to work extra, and besides he used to also get some uh, pages home, and for those each manuscripts are handwritten work. So used for every single page he used to get 5 sous. And this life lasted 10 years. At the end of 10 years, they had paid off everything, even the interest. So, this miserable life or this hardship had lasted them for 10 years, and finally at the end of 10 years they had paid off all the loans with interest. Madame Loisel looked old now. Often she brooded over the past. Now, Madame Loisel was looking very old now because of the stress and the hard work she had done. So she was looking very old now. She was not the same charming and beautiful Mathilde, but she had grown older now because of more older because of the stress and the hard work she had to do. Often she brooded over the past.